You're listening to the Best Advice Podcast, guys. If you haven't already, give us a 5-star review and help spread the word. And if you have a question for the guys, email a voice recording to podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com. That's podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Security Financial Management. If you're ready to take the first step to a healthy retirement, walk into SFM and walk out with your personal CFO. Find out more online at sfmadvisorgroup.com.
Oh, welcome back to Best Advice Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Rob Lovaglio, here as always with Dave Allen, Frank Lovaglio, and Austin Jacks, a.k.a. The Fats. Gentlemen, it's crack-a-lackin'.
Always love that start. It makes me get fired up, right, Austin Jacks?
Happy Monday, right?
Let's crack a lack.
Hey, yes.
That's your title, King.
I like it.
So we open each episode with the powerful practice of positive thinking. We call this Give Me Something Good. So, Dad, give me something good.
Give me all you got!
What's really good, you have to start with Caitlin Clark, right? So she's like the Taylor effect, right? You know, the Taylor in the
Taylor Swift.
NFL, Taylor Swift. So I admit, comfortable with my masculinity. I'm a Swiftie. Dave, are you a Swiftie?
Sometimes.
Oh, you admitted it last night. But if you look at the effect she's had on college basketball, Caitlin Clark, it's been really cool. I had a sister who played small Division I. Stetson for the men got whacked by UConn, but hey, they were in the tournament. My sister played all 4 years, so I've always been a college basketball advocate. I know my dad liked it. Free college for Frank and Karen. But Caitlin Clark, what a great run she's had. I was looking at some facts over the weekend in preparation for this. Just cool stuff. So she ended yesterday with her final shot, 3,951 points, the greatest in any Division I basketball. Pete Maravich, who, Dave, you and I will age ourselves because Austin and Rob are the young folks, but Pete Maravich was quite a player. We were young, but we were alive when he was playing, and he completed 3,667 points, and she was 3,951. But a few things you got to take in mind. Back then when Maravich played, no 3-point line, no shot clock. So think about the game. You could do the 4-corner stall. Remember North Carolina, like 20 years ago, did a stall in the final. And they, I don't know, I'm going to get this wrong, but 17 minutes they held the ball. It was some crazy amount where shot clock makes you shoot more. So not taking anything away, Caitlin Clark, what a stud. And that's what, give me something good, and I gave it to you. What you got, Dave?
We're going to go nose to nose with him. We're going to beat him at both ends of the court.
Unfortunately, she lost last night. But
I did. I kind of left that out.
I was watching her play.
She still scored 30.
Yeah, she's got some boogie in her. Like she's not robotic at all.
No.
She's coming off screen.
Good passer, too.
Back. Step back, pull up, like in their face.
Yeah.
Like it was interesting to watch. I'm not going to lie.
And she's a special passer. Just when you start paying attention to her, she'll just know.
She averaged 32 and 9 assists. She's basically averaging a double-double.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Legendary. And last month was women's. I got this from my staff. I love all my drawing ladies in the Women's History Month was March. So let's talk about it.
All righty, then let's move on to the question of the day. Today's question comes from Devin from Lake Mary. What you got for us?
You want to say something?
Hey guys, just had my first kid and wanted to make sure that I'm taking the proper steps financially to assist in his future retirement. So where do you recommend I start? Are there options for opening kids' investment accounts? Hoping to get some advice on that. Thank you.
Devin, great question, man. You sound like a great dad. The fact you are already making moves on your son's future, you're head over heels ahead of most. The key here is how much, or really how long do you want your money to work for you? The sooner you start investing, the less actual money you need to invest to hit your goals. It's simple, but it's the truth. We talked past episodes about how the unknown causes anxiety. Don't let that be the case with your finances. And I'll show you why right now with 2 straightforward examples and simple ways to make your kid a millionaire. And that is only if you have the discipline to start early, right? So option number 1, if you invest $100 per month from your kids age 0 to 18 years old, if you can do that and you don't take any money out or take any withdrawals, you can never invest another cent into that account. And at your kid's 60th birthday, which is a young retirement age, that account would have grown to $5,863,522. So Rob, how does that make sense? You'll say that's only what? $21,600 actually invested? How can that possibly equate to $5.8 million? Well, let's do the math. Using a 10% average rate of return. That's an easy number to use, and statistically, that's pretty fair. When your son turns 18, that $21,000 account would have compounded to $93,212. Now at age 60, 42 years later, that $93,212 would have compounded to $5.8 million, all from a $100 a month contribution that you stopped contributing to 52 years ago. Now that's letting your money work for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more example, and basically let's do the same thing, right? $100 a month from your kid age 0 to 18, but instead of 18, we're going to stop at year 10. So you started investing $100 a month, but at age 10, little Jimmy's just rubbing dad the wrong way.
There's no way that you could come from my loin.
Dad, screw you, Jimmy. I'm going to stop contributing. So 10 years, $100 a month for 10 years, that would be only $12,000 invested. Again, if using a 10% average annual return, and again, allowing money to grow without making any withdrawals, at your son's retirement age, that's $12,000 could have turned into Jimmy's $1.6 million retirement. And that, my friends, is why they call it the power of compound interest. This is not something you want to kick the can down the road with. Getting in early is crucial. So that's just a few examples of how to get started here, Devin. Love your question. Again, I'm going to give it to the experts to give you the details about the different accounts available for children. Fats, you want to take over?
Sure. So there's a number of different investment type accounts that you can open up for your kids. And it's all kind of circumstantial depending on, how much control you want over it, if there's a specific goal like college. But a couple examples are a 529 account, which is geared towards education, UTMA or UGMA account, or the Unified Transfer to Minors Act. It's basically an account that you open for your child. You can invest in that account. And then once they reach the age of majority of usually 21 or 25 years old, they take over that account. It's a nice way to save for your kid, but also, some parents think, 21 to 25, that might not be a mature kid who's able to take over a good sum of money. So if you want to keep more control of the account, one way is just to open up an individual transfer on death account and kind of earmark it for your child, or open up a trust through an estate planning attorney. And that way the trust kind of dictates stipulations of when the kid can obtain the money. And that gives you more control, allows you to designate maybe a later age that your child can take over.
I'm going to pull David, my partner Dave Allen, on a couple of questions that we have done this over the years. What do you think of UTMA? What are the advantages of UTMA maybe versus a 529? And then what's the advantage of a 529? Just the differences of those two.
First off, let me add a little bit what Austin said on the using the transfer on death registration. You keep control as a parent, and it's never the kid's money until you die. And then when you die, if you died before age 21, you have your beneficiary be the trust. And then your trust will take it to where you need. So you can have a combination of TOD, transfer on death. Bank, it's called payable on death, POD. So in our business, it's called transfer on death. But combine the two sometimes makes a lot of sense. As far as a UTMA, a lot of times if the need is just non-college, and at 21, you have a responsible kid that you just want to be able to buy a house. Many times I have found that the UTMA is more dangerous than it is healthy for the kid, because at 21 years old, think about when you were 21. There's a lot of responsible kids at 21, but there are a lot of very irresponsible kids. Maybe not just financially irresponsible, financially immature. And if they've got, $200,000 that shows up in their name, guess what happens? Get a lot of new friends, a lot of fun happens, a lot of new cars, and a lot of it's not going for what you really want it to. But I'll tell you one strategy that's kind of cool these days, and it just effective January, is that 529 savings plan is probably the dominant college savings plan that's out there. I mean, there's the college prepaid, but this is where you actually, the money is going into an investment.
And also you get tax-free benefits, right, Dave, on the 529?
Right.
It
It goes in after tax, but grows tax-free.
Kind of like a Roth IRA
I mean, very much like a Roth IRA. And Austin, to that point, also in January now, there's new tax law that has allowed people that are in a 529 savings plan for at least 15 years, the beneficiary can be converted to a Roth IRA.
But you have to be in it 15 years? You have to have the
15 years, and they'll only allow you to move the amount that you're eligible on an annual basis. Like right now, it's $7,000 a year. So if you got 40 grand in that account, you could move 7,000 into a Roth, but there's no hurry because it's still growing tax free. So just every year you're converting it until you hit 35,000.
You have to pay the tax on it when you move it? Okay.
No, it moves over tax free.
Tax free.
So that's a really cool strategy that's out there for people. But the one thing is there's still a couple gray areas they're working on, but in general, there's a couple states that are not completely on it yet, but under most circumstances, that's the new law. Another thing is one of the pitfalls to avoid is a lot of times they'll think they can convert it to their kid and their kid's only owned it for 10 years. It's 15 years. And if many times in a 529, you can change beneficiaries. Like if I got, what was your little boy's name that got in trouble? Jimmy?
Jerry.
Okay, Jimmy now.
Oh, yeah.
If you had a Jimmy, you give it to John.
Right.
Right?
Jimmy's
John
21
anyway.
years old and Jimmy's pissed you off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to little Johnny.
Yeah.
And now it needs to be in Johnny as a beneficiary for 15 years. Even though you've had it for 15 years for little Jimmy, little Jimmy got...
Yeah, Jimmy's in the
was bad
doghouse.
boy.
He's in the doghouse.
Now, what happens if you do it too early? Say you don't meet the 15 years and you pull money out. How are the tax ramifications of an early withdrawal that didn't get...
The gain is taxed and there's a 10% penalty.
What stops?
It's like an annuity. It's taxed like an annuity then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Say that one more time. They get the tax,
the gain,
ordinary income and 10% penalty.
Ordinary income above your principal
Right,
deposit.
and 10%. Okay.
Because there's not a tax deduction on the money going in, but your gain, let's say you put in 30 grand and it's worth 50 grand, you pull it out. There's tax on your gain and then a
$20,000 you pay tax on and 10% penalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it 10, Austin? It's 10.
It's a 10% penalty.
Gains is only going to be a cap. It won't get cap gain on a 520. It'll be ordinary income.
Yeah, ordinary income.
So in other words, if you made say 100 grand that year and you made 20,000 extra over and above, you'd pay taxes on 120.
Yeah.
The 20 plus your own 100. Your new taxable income would be 120.
Right.
Ordinary.
But the key is to not overfund. A lot of people overfund their 529 plan, and they can leave it in there as long as they want to, and then they can shovel it off to another grandkid too. You know, like if your kid doesn't use it, then it's a great vehicle. You can say, okay, you didn't use it. I can either convert some of it to a Roth, or I can change the beneficiary to a grandkid or another child. Okay. It's a great savings vehicle.
Those are good facts. And the Roth is such a great vehicle for those of you that haven't seen it because it's the only vehicle that accumulates tax-free and you withdraw tax-free. Right. So a lot of times when we're doing retirement planning as financial advisors, we're very conscious about buckets, buckets of different money because a lot of wealth, because it's so hard and having 4 children. Again, Dave and I will date ourselves. Dave's got 3 children. The youngest is a girl. I'm going to call her 28. I'm going to get close, 25. Hey, with 3-year rule, I'm okay with it.
Okay,
And my youngest is 27. I probably got that wrong too, but don't tell Abby that. But the bottom line is that when you do retirement planning, it's very important to have different buckets because if you have $2 million, you work your whole life, you work for, let's just call it Martin Marietta, for 40 years, you accumulated $1.5 million, which is a great feat. But if it's all pre-tax, when you go to withdraw that money, let's just call it a 25% bracket, every dollar you pull out is really 75 cents. So $1 million is 750,000. On a Roth, $1 million is $1 million.
Right.
So understanding those two differentials is a big deal, right, Dave? When you're pulling money out of a retirement plan.
Oh, yeah.
Or for retirement.
Very expensive, yeah.
Yeah. Those are expensive.
Great way to save, but not your most tax efficient pull.
Exactly.
1 minute with Mitch. Hi, everybody. It's April 8th. It's a Monday morning, and we have a busy week ahead of us. Lots of data coming out this week. But first, let's talk about last week. The jobs numbers came out. They were up 303,000 jobs. Most people expected about 200,000 jobs, meaning we had a 33% increase of what they expected. The concern, of course, is when you get numbers like that, Jerome Powell has to look at all the data when it comes to lowering interest rates. We've all been waiting. We've all been listening. We've all been concerned about it. He did say, however, that that's just one small piece of data. He takes a look at everything. So a cut's not completely off the board. So we'll have to really pay attention and see what's going to happen. This Wednesday, April 10th, we are coming out with new CPI data. So we'll see what happens there. The Fed will they cut in June? That number was a few weeks ago, according to Yahoo Finance, about a 77% chance. It has been dropping steadily with still continuing good numbers coming out on different parts of the economy. Now it's about a 55%, 53% chance, according to Yahoo. In addition to that, we've got talks this week starting on a Mideast ceasefire. The good news there, that has affected the oil markets. Right now, the oil prices have dropped about 1.61% for the day right now. We know it can go anywhere up, down, sideways. But right now, this is good news with some possible ceasefire talks in the Middle East. Oil has come down 1.61% for the day. Big day this week again. Earnings numbers are going to start to come out. We'll see how companies have done in the first quarter of 2024. We talked last week how the markets had a very, very good market. Now we'll have to see what the earnings really look like and see how that affects everything. In addition to that, the 10-year Treasury is increasing. The interest rate on the 10-year Treasury, according to Yahoo Finance today, morning of April 8th, is up to 4.45%. Some people have said it could get to 4.5%. However, the short-term Treasury bills are still inverted, so they still are much higher than the 10-year Treasury, but it's starting to get closer as this 10-year Treasury creeps up. So again, lots of data coming out this week, lots of things to take a look at. So stay tuned for some more minutes with Mitch. That's a quick wrap and update on where we are today, April 8th, 2024. Thank you.
3 minutes with Mitch.
Mitch,
Oh,
honey,
yeah.
why don't you get some air, okay?
There you go. Remember, folks, the secret of wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep. Happy days, everybody.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only and is not intended as personal financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please do your own research and consult a financial advisor as needed. If you have a question for the guys, email podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com.